Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope everyone's doing well today. Welcome to another and final edition. Oh, I've got feedback coming. Oh my goodness, and there's music playing. I'll just mute
Sounds
my
like a
YouTube
party on
real
your
quick.
side.
I don't know what's going on over here. Yeah, welcome. Welcome to the final, as I was saying, the final episode or edition of this 4-part workshop. I hope you guys have enjoyed the 3 leading up to now. We're so excited to have you back for the 4th. So much good stuff to cover. Of course, we're going to kind of wrap up everything that you've learned. So it's in many ways the most important of all of the workshops that we've done. But if you have missed any of those first 3, you know where to find all of that stuff. You can rewatch the video right here on YouTube, and you can find all of the worksheets and all the materials at that link. We'll drop that link again in this chat here. The link will be in all the chats from all the videos up until now, but we'll drop that link for you guys right now. You can find all those materials and all the worksheets and all that kind of stuff so that you guys can go ahead and do this work for your own company. Maybe, Drew, as people are trickling in, you can give a little bit of a recap of kind of what we touched on till here in case there's anybody that is brand new so that they're all fired up to go back and do the other work.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan. As I'm switching over and sharing my screen, we always start with a question, and we had some like weather question. We had plants versus animal questions, and I thought because I switched shirts again from last week, and I'm back to the pineapple shirt. And this is always like the most controversial question you can ask anybody on any platform is like, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Oh,
And to me, yes, absolutely does. It's like one of my
yes,
favorite pizzas. Thank
me
you. Okay,
too.
good.
Okay, I'm really
And
glad. Yeah.
I'm glad we're on the same page. So
Me
if
too.
you're, let us know if you're a pineapple on pizza person, or sometimes people are just like, it's outrageous and it's like a complete sin or something like that. Like they're
I
just
know.
not impressed at that at all.
I can't even believe it's
Yeah,
such a polarizing topic.
it's so funny. I've seen it in so many different like Facebook groups or emails,
Yeah.
just like when people want to like have some sort of engagement on a post. Like I bet tomorrow, if you go on LinkedIn and you're like, hey, it's Friday, happy Friday, everybody. Hope you have a great pizza day and finish up your sales week. Do you like pineapple on your pizza? You're gonna have the most comments and like engagement that you'll ever have. It's so
Yeah.
crazy.
So funny. Yeah, let us know. Let us know so we can just start a fight in the comments about, oh,
Yeah, so
somebody can do with or without. That is such a
with
neutral
or
position.
without. Wow,
That
that's
I
very
have never
political.
heard. Yeah,
Maybe they're from Ottawa or Washington D.C. or something like that. I feel like
that's
it's a very
diplomacy at its
politically correct
finest.
answer.
You're
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, so we're finishing up. This is the fourth of a 4-part series around building a repeatable and scalable sales culture from scratch. So really, it's for founders, for entrepreneurs, and new sales leaders who are looking to establish some repeatable and scalable processes and build and eventually scale that sales team. And we're talking a lot about the focus is a lot about outbound, kind of an outbound sales motion versus a marketing and inbound sales motion. So the first in that 4-part series, like Sarah said, you can find them on YouTube, and we've got worksheets and action items and all that sort of thing associated with them. The first thing we did was lay out the 4 steps to actually just build your sales playbook. And then we started to layer on some information and pieces that you want to put into that playbook. And the first one we talked about there, which is the second chat, was around building your sales process. So actually mapping out your from prospecting, discovery, demo, proposals, closed one, mapping out that whole process and what enablement tools support your sales reps in that sales process. Any other pineapple comments, Sarah?
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
we've got a definitely from Greg. And Greg, I don't know if you would definitely yes or definitely no. Are you a definitely I could do with or without? Or you would definitely let's eat them? I'm gonna assume that it's definitely let's eat them because
That's
that
it, Greg.
is
Yeah,
what
I
Drew and I
appreciate that.
like. And then Mia says anything works as long as you're hungry. Is that true, Mia? I don't think that's true for these people who hate the pineapple on the pizza. I would say the same thing, but there are people who probably would like they're starving.
Or
It's
like
the
pick it
last meal
off.
they can
Yeah.
eat. Yeah, exactly. They're like, I don't care how hungry I am. Um, and then Marrow says definitely no, which I just don't
There you go.
understand. And then we've got another Enaid saying yes, delicious. So it actually seems like we're quite weighted heavily to the pro pineapple side here. So that's pretty interesting. I wonder if there's
We're
any like
attracting the right people.
Exactly. I wonder if there's any, like, I bet you people who really like pineapple on their pizza are like exponentially better at sales, generally speaking. Like, I'm sure there's like a cause and effect there. Um, but yeah, thank you for the engagement, guys.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, so the second half of the four-part series, we talked about scaling sales by building empathy with your ideal customer profile and your prospects. And again, we had a worksheet and some content around there. And today, dun, 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 like Sarah said, we're kind of wrapping it all together. So now we've got our playbook. We got our 4 steps to build a playbook. We've got our ideal customer profile dialed in. We're selling to them. We know who they are. We're putting ourselves in their shoes. And we have our sales process mapped out. So we have a repeatable, scalable sales process with enablement tools to make sure our sales reps are ready to succeed. Now let's get some sales reps and let's onboard them and coach them throughout the year. And again, we're focusing on supporting you as founders and entrepreneurs and new sales leaders, hiring 1, 2, 3, 4 reps, kind of starting out. We're not talking about going from 100 reps to 200 reps. It's kind of a different conversation, but this is all in line with building that sales culture from scratch.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Um, Greg has confirmed that in fact he's a definitely yes. So that is another person on the Pineapple team. Amazing. Really great to hear from you guys. Please keep up the engagement. If you have any questions that come up at all during this workshop today, please drop them into that chat. I've got my eye on it the whole time. If it's something that applies like immediately to what we're talking about, I'll interject and we'll have Drew answer it then. If not, we'll have a little bit of time at the end to answer any of those leftover questions. So please do keep engaging. And once again, because this is the last series, it's also your last chance to ask Drew questions live during the series. We'll tell you how to reach out to him afterwards as well. But if you have any questions at all, this is the time. Now's your chance to get those all in. So please keep that engagement up as you have with the pineapples. That's wonderful.
Hmm.
But let's get started. Let's dig into the how to hire, onboard, and coach SDRs to success.
That sounds good. And I'll introduce myself in a minute. Um, a little bit more, but I'm Drew, Sales Playbook Builder, hosting this alongside Predictable Revenue and Sarah.
Yes, and I'm Sarah Hicks, SDR Manager at Predictable Revenue. Very excited to be here with Drew.
Sweet, and we're here to, like, our promise to you, like we have done in the last 3 sessions, is give you as much information as we can, provide as much content as we can, and be responsive to any questions or requests or concerns that you have. Feel free, like Sarah said, drop them in the chat. We're here to service you and be responsive to you. And while you're here, might as well get as much as you can out of it. And along that same note, if you've been joining us, you know that there's lots of action items and worksheets and to-dos after. So if you're new joining us, we go through kind of some high level topics and then we dig in and we start like building something together. So at the end of this, we're gonna have some worksheets and to-dos for you to do to actually build out everything from hiring, onboarding, and coaching as a founder, entrepreneur, or new sales leader. So yeah, I'm Drew Williams. I run an organization called Sales Playbook Builder, and you guessed it, we build sales playbooks, and we help you establish these repeatable, scalable sales processes through documenting current best practices, honing in on your ideal customer profile, mapping out the sales process, and building in, kind of layering on these like different playbooks at different stages as you grow and scale your business. So I'm a career salesperson. My very first job outside of working at a restaurant was working in an inside sales role with a company called Career Builder. They were huge in the States and just growing their team in Toronto, but we had a team of about 20 reps. We had SDRs, we had BDRs, we had strategic account executives, and had our headsets on and the big whiteboard and making 100 phone calls a day and setting appointments and just kind of high pressure, high activity sales. And that's kind of where I built a foundation and learned a lot about this, like hiring and proper onboarding and training and shadowing and all these kind of frameworks to support me in my role as a salesperson. And then I moved on to 3M as an outside sales rep. So I had managing a multi-million-dollar territory in downtown Toronto and working through distribution as well as kind of direct to business, but directly to our consumers. And now I went from kind of a big company to like a huge company, and we had so much infrastructure and support for a sales team. And it was pretty amazing because you're just kind of set up to succeed, and I loved it. And the one thing that was missing for me, I was always like an entrepreneurial person, wanted to do my own thing. So I liked running my own business as a sales rep, but I also wanted to do something for myself. And at that time, my brother, he was in his mid 20s, and he was diagnosed with testicular cancer at that time. And fast forward to today, he's happy and healthy, has a couple kids, lives in London, Ontario. But at that time was a really challenging time for us and for him and us as a family going through that. And he went through some surgery and chemotherapy, and just forced us to re kind of look at our goals and our professional careers. And so at that time, we decided to, you know what, my brother and I are just going to start something. And we started a nonprofit called Heal for Life, which is healthy, everyday active living for life, and promoting young men's health, mentally and physically, throughout sports and schools. And we did that for a few years, and it was just a super rewarding experience. But then the funding dried up. And so we decided to go back to the workforce, work for other people. And that's when I got into the world of startups and SaaS. So worked for a couple startups in Toronto, one based in the UK, one based in New Zealand, helping them as their first sales rep grow their sales team and establish some sales processes. And it was a huge learning experience, and it was really different than working at these bigger organizations where you come in as a sales rep and you have a brand, you have sales enablement resources, tools, all this support to help you along your way. And when you're working with founders and working with these startups, it was not that, because you're just kind of learning as you go and building as you go. So what I realized was that there's this gap between, okay, these established organizations that have established processes, onboarding, hiring, training, coaching, and you have a startup who is starting up, and all of a sudden you're at the time of where you're going to grow and start hiring. And now you have to just think about what are you going to put in place to help those sales reps thrive. And I was building those as I was actually trying to sell. So what I thought, okay, why don't we be an advocate for that sales rep to help to give them the resources and tools to survive and thrive in their role, and also be an advocate for the founder, knowing that you have a million things on the go and you have a to-do list that is a million things long. So how can we help you and help the sales rep so that we can have this like sales success and bring some of what I saw at 3M and Career Builder into your organization and start building from the ground up. And that's where Sales Playbook Builder was conceived. So, quick question for everybody out there, and I'm sure you run into this a lot, Sarah, and just like with a lot of the clients that Predictable Revenue works with too, is like challenges with hiring.
Mm-hmm.
So throw in the chat, maybe you've been hired as a sales rep, maybe you've tried hiring before, maybe you're just thinking about hiring your first rep or first couple reps, but what's the biggest challenge that you find and that you see in that hiring process? I mean, it could be just simply, I don't know what to compensate my sales reps. I don't know who I'm looking for. I don't know where to post a job. I don't know how to onboard them. I'm not a salesperson myself. So what do I do once they kind of get into the organization? But what's the biggest challenge you think of? Throw it in the chat when you think of hiring for specifically for sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting question. And it probably depends a lot on where you're located as well, because I know a lot of, say, companies in like the Bay Area, if you're to hire an SDR in the Bay, there's an expectation around pay that exists in that
Mm-hmm.
climate. It's going to be a little bit different somewhere else. Um, yeah, there's so many different things that could exist for various companies at various stages. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say there.
Yeah, and
Staying
it's
motivated working remote, says Shane. Fair enough. That's a big
yeah.
one,
So
especially if you've
motivating the
never.
sales reps once you've hired them.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you weren't a remote first company prior to this. And you maybe, if you're hiring your first sales rep, you've maybe never onboarded somebody remotely ever. So that's absolutely an additional layer of challenge that exists right now.
Yeah,
What else, guys? Thank you, Shane. Well, I'll keep my eye out and I'll shoot them out to you.
yeah, that sounds good. And I'll share a little bit about what I've seen either with clients or actually at organizations, or kind of heard through chatting with founders and entrepreneurs. But one of the first things that I think of is just like hiring at random. So not really being strategic in who, when, and why you're hiring for sales. So makes me think of my brother. He lives, we were talking about him earlier, lives in London, Ontario now with his family. Whenever we get to go visit him, which I can't wait, hopefully in the next few months, we always play darts. My wife and I play with my brother and his partner, and we play kind of switch the couples and play against each other. And we play a game that you essentially just like count up to 301 or 501, depending on how long the night is. But when you're throwing the darts, you don't just count to 301. There's a strategy in terms of like how to get there. So on the dartboard, you have doubles, you have triples, you have different numbers. So you're not just kind of going up there and throwing the darts and hope that you hit the kind of the biggest number. You're in there, you're strategically picking out exactly each dart you're thinking about. You're choosing exactly where you're going to throw at it. Hopefully you get it. Sometimes you don't, but there is a strategy behind it, and there's not just a randomness of just kind of throwing the darts at the board. So being prepared strategically for who and when and why you're hiring a sales rep is super important.
Absolutely. And something you just said there, who Greg says that's the biggest challenge that he faces is how to identify the right skill set and the right personality match for the org.
Right. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on, but it's definitely a challenge of finding out who, because again, it's different than hiring your accountant, let's say. So if you hire an accountant or a bookkeeper, you hire them, you give them access to QuickBooks, and they create your spreadsheets, and that's it. They either do it or they don't do it. With a sales rep, there's so many variables, there's so many intangibles, there's so many things that are difficult to monitor, and that everything that a sales rep needs to thrive, you need to help provide them. So it's definitely a different process and a different approach, and I can see how it's challenging to see to kind of find out who would fit and who you're going to work best with.
Hmm.
Another piece that I see is founders and entrepreneurs, those new sales leaders, is just like making it up as you go and just kind of winging it. So let's say you found that person, now you're onboarding them, and you're kind of scrambling because, again, I understand that you have a ton of stuff to do, and you might have to be supporting marketing and supporting the product and working with investors and all these other things that are going on. And so you have a call booked on Thursday at 1 p.m. with your new rep, and it's to go for onboarding. And you get off your previous phone call at 12:55, and you're like, okay, well, I'll just go and we'll just kind of quickly talk about something. So you're just kind of like winging it, and there's no procedure and protocol in place. And you can imagine if you had this orchestra and everybody showed up and they have that sheet music, but nobody's actually playing it, and you have every single instrument playing just kind of their own thing, and they're just winging it. It doesn't make sense. You're not going to create a nice sound. You're not going to have a great experience if everyone's just kind of winging it and picking it up as they go. And finally, I don't think we had any pictures of puppy dogs, so I thought I'd just throw a puppy dog in here because everyone loves their puppies. But having no time. So again, we're not talking about a sales manager who spends 50% of their time hiring and onboarding sales reps. We're talking about founders and entrepreneurs who don't have the time to do it. So not having the time is almost as challenging and as bad as just winging it. So what I've seen and what I've been a part of is I might have that meeting on Thursday with my founder for them to either onboard or coach me, and then it gets canceled because there's something else that takes priority. So I totally get that you don't have time to do it, but you need to make time to support your sales reps. And I talked about my brother earlier. I've got a younger sister as well, so we were a family of three, and both my parents are retired now, but high school teachers, and they coached and did a bunch of extracurriculars. So it was a super busy household. And for some reason, maybe when I was, I don't know, 10 years old, they decided to throw something in the mix, and they got a dog. And so now we have three kids, busy lifestyles, and we have a dog. And my parents they didn't have any time to properly train and give the attention to that new family member that it should have. And what happened? Well, the dog started acting out, and the dog would run away from home and maybe pee on the carpet in the living room. I'm not suggesting that's what your sales reps are going to be doing, but they are going to act out a little bit if you're not going to have time to help invest them and support them on their journey. So what does it look like if we get this hiring, onboarding, and coaching right? Well, you can become a lot more strategic in terms of when you're going to hire. So I like to say you start hiring to grow. So instead of not knowing when and who and why to hire, you have a plan that's set out and you know exactly when you're going to hire and exactly who you're going to hire, and a plan of like how you're actually going to hire them for that process. As the founder and entrepreneur, you might not have a lot of sales experience, but that's okay because we're going to talk about some techniques and ideas and strategies to help you become an expert sales coach. And when I think of, okay, how do you become an expert sales coach without having expert sales coaching background? I don't know if you've seen this, the either the lumberjack games or those like competitions where people are like chopping down the trees, but they have this very strategic way of chopping down a giant tree, and you don't just kind of just randomly chop at it. There's like each cut that you're doing is very strategic, so you kind of cut in at a 45-degree angle, you do it again underneath, you start making these notches until you're about a third of the way through the wood, you hop on the other side and you do the kind of the same technique, just kind of one chop at a time, and eventually that tree falls down, acts as a hinge, and you did your job just kind of one axe at a time. So we're going to talk about some different ways that you can kind of support your sales reps without thinking of coaching as this big idea, is just looking at how can you kind of one chop at a time, one thing a week or one thing a quarter, to support your sales reps and coach them on and help them become a better sales rep and allow you to kind of coach one at a time as you're moving along the year. And finally, the third kind of biggest piece where we're looking at when you get it right for this hiring and onboarding and coaching is you actually set aside dedicated time to supporting your reps. So when you look at any high performing sales team, they don't just hire reps and let the reps just go do their own thing for the next 10 years. They're constantly supporting them. There's feedback, there's coaching, there's ongoing training. So what we're going to do is work out a plan so that you can set aside some of your time to dedicate to those sales reps and give them the support that they need. When I was growing up, I was a big animal person, so we had that dog, but I love fish. I remember going to the pet stores and like seeing this whole like wall of aquariums, and so I decided to get a fish tank when I was a kid. And so what I did was, okay, we got a fish tank, and my mom sat me down and said, okay, well, we got a fish tank, but it's not just going to survive on its own. You need to spend some time every week. What we have to do is clean up the tank every day. We have to feed the fish every day. We're going to take a look just to make sure the fish is healthy and is not upside down or doesn't have any fungus or anything else on them that we need taken care of. On a monthly basis, we're going to completely wash out the tank and replace the water so that the fish is healthy. And there's this kind of like cadence and time that I dedicated to that fish to support that fish and their growth. And we're going to be working on some strategies with you so that you can do that with your team, even though you don't have a whole lot of time, but we're going to squeeze a few things in. We'll pause for a little drink. So what we're looking at right here, so we talked a little bit about the problems and issues and challenges and that sort of thing. What we're looking at right here is a average ramp time for sales reps. And if we're just looking at general industry standards, we're looking at this black line right here. And if we look at the bottom, which is time, so 3 months to 1 year, the y-axis, we're looking at, let's say, just getting started, and then being proficient in a particular skill in the job, and then hitting quota and really just kind of being fully ramped up as a sales rep. So when we're looking at the averages, the average for sales reps is about 6 to 9 months. And that's kind of a combination. Again, every company, every organization has a slightly different definition of what ramped up means. Some say ramped up is like hitting quota. Some define it as being proficient in the skill set that you're doing. So if you're hiring an SDR, are they able to conduct a proper discovery call and update HubSpot or their CRM, then that's how they define being kind of ramped up. So it depends on your company. And what you're able to do when you have this like process nailed down and you're supporting your reps is reduce this from 6 to 9 months anywhere to 3 to 6 months. And sure, it sounds great. Okay, my rep is ramped up in 6 months instead of 9 months, or 3 months instead of 6 months, and it sounds good. But what I want you to do is just kind of think of put some dollars to that. So just take a quick second and think about your average contract value, and think of your average contract value on a yearly basis, and we'll be able to kind of put an impact on what this means for you and your organization. So if we just had an example, I was going to say 5K ARR. And if we had, let's say we close one deal per week, so that's 4 deals a week, we're looking at 20K ARR that we're closing when we ramp up faster each month. And in this case, if we're saving ourselves 3 months, that's 60K worth of deals that you're improving on. And when you think of like a business impact, that's a huge impact. You're even like possibly like paying for that sales rep within that time that you're supporting them and onboarding them and getting them ramped up. So it's a big deal to get this right. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail about how to get that right. Cool. I'll pause there. I'll take another drink. Any questions or comments, Sarah, either in the chat or from
Yeah,
yourself about that
no,
that ramp up time?
no questions yet. We have a couple comments just kind of agreeing when we were talking about those challenges that a CEO or a founder has in terms of being able to give enough time and the kind of structured onboarding to their SDRs. Mia says exact same situation. So definitely resonating with people in the audience here. But no, this absolutely makes sense as far as ramp goes. A huge impact of minimizing that time that it takes before you've got that SDR at full production.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's take one quick step back. So we talked about the 4-part series that we were working on before we kind of dig into the worksheet that we're going to work on for the rest of the time together. So the first call, we talked about building your sales playbook with these 4 steps: audit, align, accelerate, audit, align, assemble, and then accelerate. The second piece that we looked at was mapping out that sales process. So from start to finish, what does that look like? How do we support the team? Then last week we talked about building empathy with your ideal customer profile. And then finally today, what we're going to do is build out that sales team. And once we have that, then we have a sales playbook, we have an ideal customer profile, we got a sales process. Now we can start bringing these sales team members on, plugging them into the team and the process, and we can start predicting our revenue, having repeatable, scalable sales processes, as well as sales team members. Cool. So let's look at the different, let's say, stages or elements of what this like SDR hiring might look like. So on this axis, let's put time and energy. And this is from you as the perspective as the CEO or founder. And then the on this axis, we're looking at sales experience. So the first thing we would look at and what we're going to be building out a little bit later is showcasing you and showcasing your company, because we want to attract the best candidates that we can. We also want to attract candidates that fit our culture. And we talked about that. There's a few people saying that's a challenge. So it's like, who do we want to hire? When do we want to hire them? But that who piece is really challenging. And one of the ways of getting the right people is by showcasing you as a company, you as a founder, your origin story, what makes your company awesome, why working for you is better than working for any other company that these reps can have a choice of working for. The second piece is hiring. So we got to hire our reps. And you might just think, oh, we just put up a job posting and then we'll get a rep and it's great. Sure, that's kind of the short story, but there's a longer story of, okay, well, what are you saying in your job posting? What are you comping them? What does the KPIs and metrics look like? What does the hiring flow look like? If you have a small team, who's going to be managing the resumes coming in? Who's doing the qualification piece for them? Who's doing a call? Who's ultimately doing the final interview? So there's a flow that we need to build out and look at. As we keep moving up, we're looking at, now we've hired our awesome sales rep. Now we're going to be onboarding them. And again, like as we're moving up along this graph here, the showcase, hire, onboard, kind of the more we move up, the more time and energy and the more sales expertise you need. So what we're going to be working on is, you don't have to be a sales expert to be a great founder, CEO, sales coach, and sales manager. There's ways that we can work on that to help empower your sales reps, but also empower you to make up for that lack of experience and still give your sales reps the tools and resources that they need to be awesome. And the final piece, so we've onboarded them. It's been about 6 months, let's say. Now we're going to be coaching them. So thriving sales teams don't just operate by themselves. They're constantly improving, and the best are constantly improving all the time. And they're improving as a team and also improving with managers and with CEOs alongside of them. We'll talk about some different ways that you can not automate, but let's say make it easier on you as the founder to make sure that you're ensuring that there's a sales coaching culture within your company without you having to be a sales expert and without you having to spend 90% of your time with those sales reps. Cool. So this is our worksheet that we're going to be working through for the next little bit. I'm going to pause for a second, but just to give you an overview. So we talked about showcase as number one. We're going to look at hiring, and then we're going to talk through onboarding, and then finally look at coaching. So this is what we're going to go through, and each one we're going to break down, dive a little bit deeper. And what we're going to do here is actually build out this matrix so that by the end of this, you can have this sheet as your sales team success matrix. You can build out your job descriptions. You can build out your comp plan. You can create like a mini playbook just for hiring SDRs from this worksheet. So we're going to do this together in a minute. I'm going to pause one more second before we build together. Any more comments in the chat there, Sarah?
Nothing yet. So it sounds like everybody is just engaged, ready to learn, ready to fill out this worksheet.
Cool. And if you're watching this like on YouTube as a recording, then of course, at any time you just pause it, work it out alongside of us, and kind of do it with us. And Sarah and I are going to do this worksheet together and show you how it works. And then you can do this as some homework. Cool. So we are going to dig into showcase first. So let's make up a company, Sarah. We're a SaaS company. I actually thought of a great idea for a company. Last week you were talking about it was your cat, right?
Dog.
Okay.
The one that's knocking the plants. Yeah.
Yeah, the one that was knocking the plants. So
yeah,
we created this awesome SaaS company that you put a little chip into the dog's collar, and you know exactly where they are in the house. And if they go near the plant, it sends you a ping on your phone. So then you can send a little noise back to the dog so they don't actually.
It's like a pre-recorded me being like, no.
Exactly. Down.
Cool.
Okay. So we are building this out as co-founders. And the first thing we're going to be doing is highlighting our company, because we're going to be putting together we're going to be hiring our new sales reps. And what we want to do is showcase what makes us awesome. So we already have our founding story. So that's what story is here. So this was, let's say, Sarah's dog. So with an H or no H?
With an H, yeah. You left a gap there just so that you could squeeze the H in.
There you go. Sarah's dog. So just reminding you as founders, you have a story of why you started this company. It's very compelling, and it works because it's coming from you. And what you need to
Hmm.
do is document that and share that with your sales reps and make sure that they're sharing that same story or creating kind of their own version of it. So we have
Hmm.
Sarah's dog story. What about the culture of our company? What makes us awesome? What's our culture?
Well, we have both been sales reps ourselves for
Hmm.
many years. So we definitely have this like we're what do they call it when you're like you're in an army or whatever, but you will be on the front line with your people. Like you understand you're not asking your people to do something that you haven't done. We're out there. We were grinding the sales grind too.
Yeah, sales crew slash grind, let's say. So we're empathetic to our team,
Hmm.
and we also have tons of fun. I love working at this
It's such a
this
fun
company. So
company.
anything that you're offering as your company culture, it's worth. You might not think that much of it, but be super proud of it and show it off, because this is what you're putting out into the marketplace for strangers to apply to your job. So as much as you can give them about who you are and what's going to be awesome about working for this company, the better, and the more that you're going to attract the right people. Um, so what are some extras that we're offering our employees and our sales reps that maybe other companies don't offer them as being a part of us?
We have some great perks. So we'll give you the classics like we'll give you competitive salary and benefits and all of that. But the perks of
Hmm.
working for us are that we always go on an annual work excursion
Yeah,
and do like team building stuff, but also fun stuff.
I love it.
Hmm.
We also have a tech allowance each year.
Nice.
So you can
Yes.
go be up to date, whether it's a SaaS subscription or a new computer or a ring light or a fancy microphone,
Hmm.
whatever you
Very
want. So
cool.
these are some extras. And again, thinking of you as a founder, you're competing for talent, right? So an SDR is applying to jobs. They're not just applying to your job, they're applying to dozens of jobs, maybe hundreds of jobs. They're
Hmm.
actually sales reps. So they're out there on the phone, on the Zoom calls, and on the emails, applying to as many as they can. They're pretty efficient at it.
Yeah.
So you need to stand out and show them why they should be working for you, as opposed
Yeah.
to somebody else.
Because they're not
And
just
this
thinking
last
about
piece,
like the work hours. It's like, what does my life look like working for this company? Not just like what is happening within that, 8, 9 hour day, but actually like what is my life if I work here?
yeah, yeah, and it's important to. It's true. It's like your life. It's like who you're talking to, the customers that you're really dealing with, because those are the people you're talking to, and it's like that's going to
Hmm.
affect exactly like you said who you're talking to in your daily life. We're going to talk about the a day in the life in the next quadrant. So keep
Nice.
that top of mind. The last thing I put in here is just video. So there's nothing really to talk about here, but what we're going to do is record a video as co-founders. We're going to do that on June 2nd, and we're going to record a video talking about all these awesome things, why you should come work for us, and we're going to include that in any of our job postings in the future. We're going to put it on our career page on our website so that people have a real nice personal connection with us, because at the end of the day, you're the founder, you're the entrepreneur, you're the sales leader. The sales reps can be working with you,
Hmm.
and in this case can be working with Sarah and I. And so what we want to do is like showcase not just in text but also the way that we are. So we're going to record a video so that's going to be there, we can add to any of our job descriptions.
Very cool.
Awesome. So we have an awesome way of showcasing who we are. Now we're going to use some of this information and look at hiring our reps. So JD, just for everybody's job description, we're going to come back to this in just a minute. We're just going to put a pin in this because some of the information we're going to be filling out is going to feed into this job description, make it super easy for you to create something. So on target earnings, OTE, what we're looking at, if you're not familiar with on target earnings, we have, it's split up between base and let's just call it bonus. And fairly simple equation. You have base plus bonus gives you on target earnings. So what are we paying our sales rep again? In this
We are
case,
paying you a great base. We're paying you 50,000 US as your base.
50K.
That's nice and competitive.
Mm-hmm. And it depends, like you're talking about earlier about where you're hiring.
Yes.
So there's competitiveness. There's also like the dollars. So if you're hiring somebody from the Bay Area, 50K, probably not going to go a whole lot. If you're hiring someone from the Midwest or in Northern Ontario and Canada, 50K might be more than enough. So when sometimes people ask me like, what should I pay? Take a look at, there's lots of
Mhm.
reports on salaries in your cities for SDRs, BDRs, sales reps. So have a look there to find out kind of what that baseline is for your area. And also in a remote work world, you don't have to hire from your own city. You can hire elsewhere and save a little bit of money.
Very true.
And then bonus, sometimes I'm not sure about you in your previous work, Sarah, but what I typically see is like as a rule of thumb is like a 50-50,
Mhm.
maybe like a 60-40 split, but let's just say 50-50 to make it easy. So the base is 50K, the bonus is 100 or is 50K. So our on target earnings is 100K for this particular role. So now we're looking at day. So what's a day in the life of this sales rep when we think of the percentage of time? So I like to think of it, if we have, let's say the day is made up of 100% of time, what what is our SDR going to be doing, and how much time are they going to be spending on those activities? So what would you give me a couple activities, and what do we want to spend what do we want them to spend their time on?
Prospecting is going to be, if we're talking, SDR, it's going to be right up there.
Yeah.
You're kind of coaching or training or whatever you want to call that.
Mm-hmm.
And there are always like internal meetings that you're going to have to go to. And depending on kind of the role they take, if they're the type of SDR who has that first qualification meeting and then hands it off, there's going to be their own meetings as well. So kind of team
Sure.
meetings and then their meetings.
Those about discovery calls.
Mhm.
Cool. Let's just say 25%. And then what? Oops. 10%, 10%. And then we have an extra 5% just for fun.
Breaks. hmm
For breaks. Yeah, exactly. That's a good
We
thing to
don't we
have.
don't make you work all the way through, no breaks.
Not 100% of the time. Yeah, exactly. And then, okay, so we're going to build our job description in a second. We got our on target earnings. We've got what a day in the life looks like. And then when I put flow here, so what's the hiring flow? So if you are part of a smaller team, again, you might not have probably don't have an HR representative with like 3 people on your HR team and a recruiter. So how are you going to manage the candidates as they come through? So what I want you to do is think about what that hiring flow might look like. So let's say we post it on the job boards. Oops. So we're going to post it on the job boards. They're going to apply. Then we're going to have, let's say, some sort of email acknowledgement that they did apply, saying thanks for applying. Then we're going to do a first review of the resumes. After that, what we're going to do is have a quick call. So
hmm
maybe you can spend 15 minutes on the phone with them. Sarah, do a quick qualification for those who get past that first
Yeah, bit of a screening
kind of.
interview.
Yeah, exactly. And then what I've seen, and feel free to let me know what you do or some best practices, but what I see that really works well is like that second call. So after the first phone call, they're qualified, then you move on to like a 45-minute phone call, which is a little bit, or a Zoom call, which is a little bit more detailed, but also there's an
hmm
element of role playing in it, where if we're hiring for an SDR, then what I would like to do is like set them up with like a quick mock discovery call, just give them some
hmm
information so that we can see them in action.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So now we've thought about that hiring process. So we're showcasing our company, or have a plan for hiring our awesome rep. And feel free to stop me if there's any questions or comments in the chat there. Third piece, we're going to be looking at onboarding. So we're hiring for SDR who's going to be doing our prospecting, who's going to be doing some discovery calls. So we're going to start with is skills and assessments. So what sort of skills do we want them to be proficient at when we kind of say that they're like officially ramped up? So as an SDR, what are kind of like 2 or 3 things that we're looking at for them to be really proficient at?
hmm
And then we can kind of let them loose.
Cold calling.
Yeah.
Crafting emails.
Mm-hmm.
Having those discovery calls or qualifying, or yeah, just discovery.
Perfect. Let's just do 3. And then what we're going to look at is, so if we want them to be proficient at that, how are we assessing the proficiency? What are we going to have them do? So we're going to give them resources to learn about that. So we got a sales playbook for them to learn about our cold call scripts and email scripts and flows and how to run a proper discovery call. But how are we going to actually assess that? What I like to do is actually just have a discovery call with that rep. So when they're ready, they're going to have a discovery call with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could role play the cold call.
Mm-hmm.
For emails, similarly, you can do like mock emails where you've got it's almost like role playing an email. It's just practice email.
Yeah, so you can kind of like mock a deal, right? So you could kind of like take them through that pipeline or that process and just kind of role play it. And role playing is an awesome way of doing that assessment because you're the one who's assessing the skills of that particular rep, and you're going to be happy with them, kind of letting them loose if you're the one doing the assessments.
Sure.
What are some KPIs that we're going to be measuring? Let's just take 3 KPIs. So if they're going to be cold calling, emailing, discovery calls, so I'll start with one. Let's say number of calls.
Mm-hmm. Number of calls, same thing for email, and then for discovery, it's more about conversion or getting them to the next stage of the pipeline.
Right. So let's put discovery to demo percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then the final piece, we won't map it out here, but we're looking at an onboarding schedule. So we talked about 6 to 9 months. Just think about a 60-day or 90-day onboarding schedule just to get started. Put it in Excel, put it in a Google Doc, wherever you want to house it. And what I like to do is kind of maybe make them into, if you have 3 months and you kind of do some 3 months activity, you have your month 1, month 2, and month 3. And we kind of break them down into weeks. So you have your dates down here. And then you have the kind of key activities that you want them to be doing. And then if there's any team members that they need to talk to about that. So one of the pieces maybe going through the demo environment of your SaaS product and meeting with the product team to just understand some nuances and that sort of thing. Maybe you want to talk to marketing about ideal customer profile and how they kind of niche down and know who exactly to market to. Maybe you're going to be talking to them about the industry and your own ideal customer profiles. You want to have a meeting with the founder. So some different people. So what I like to do is have a date, have an activity, and then the people assigned to that internally. Look at this. Now we have our showcasing our awesome company. We're hiring our sales reps. We got a plan for that. What color are we missing? Orange. And now we have not 3 again. And now we're going to be coaching them on an ongoing basis. So I know you at Predictable Revenue use Chorus, right? As a call recording?
That's right.
So when I say record, a great way of being able to coach and support your teams kind of asynchronously. So you don't have to have kind of a coaching call every week, but what you can do is have them record their calls on a tool. So just put tool, could be Chorus, could be Refract, could be Gong, whatever you kind of want to use there. But you want to have them record their discovery calls, so then you can support them by having a look at those discovery calls, give them feedback when you do have time. So pick a tool, have the reps record their demo calls, discovery calls, whatever they're doing. And then when you think of coaching, so we want to think of that coaching cadence. So I talked about setting aside time for my fish. So how are we going to set aside time for our new sales reps? So what I like to think about is if you have I lost the color. What's going on? I went back to green. So we have, what are we doing on a daily basis, a weekly basis, quarterly basis, and a yearly basis in terms of coaching. So daily, maybe as the founder, maybe Sarah, you and I are going to go just take a look at the reports in our our CRM to see if there's anything we need to kind of note for the next coaching call. What about like on a weekly or quarterly basis? What do you kind of see in terms of a cadence for supporting supporting reps?
Yeah, I'd say a weekly call review is going to be a good thing to do. And that would be either like cold calls, having to listen to a couple of those, or the demo calls.
Yeah. And maybe like a one-on-one too, like a sales kind of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
one-on-one or
definitely. One-on-one weekly meeting.
perfect. And then quarterly basis, maybe do some like sales planning, strategic planning, or target accounts, that sort of thing. And then
Hmm.
yearly, we just do our kind of yearly account review and look at our growth.
Hmm.
So once you figure out what you're going to be doing for that year, you have your sales rep on board, plug it into your calendar and stick to it. Because again, I've been a part of organizations where they say, and I've seen organizations that they say they value coaching, they value feedback, they value ongoing growth, but they don't actually set aside the time because they have a call with an investor, they have a call with a customer, they have a call with marketing, or they have to put out another fire. But put it in your calendar and stick to it so that you can support your sales reps. Two last things in this coaching piece to help you as the founder and entrepreneur get the most out of it and empower your sales reps as well as empowering yourself. So I put own. So have the sales reps own their own growth and own their own coaching. What are some ways that we can do that, Sarah? I've got one idea. Is we talked about some extras. So we gave technology allowance, but
Hmm.
I think what we can do too is a let's say professional development allowance.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the reps have let's say $500 a quarter, and they're allowed to spend it on any professional development resource that they want. So if they want to sign up for a sales course, they can go and do that. If they want to buy $500 worth of books, they can go and do that. But this way they're owning their own coaching and professional development.
Yeah,
Anything else?
absolutely. Well, there are also so many great free resources out there. I mean, like the one that we're doing right now, webinars, podcasts, all of that stuff. So some kind of I don't know, a log where they can kind of track what they've been watching, what they've been reading, maybe have a focus week by week, but kind of take that self-directed approach to learning as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And you'd have this log of resources and also, let's say, key learnings. So then you
Hmm.
can even review that in your one-on-ones or in your quarterly sales planning, so that the reps are taking ownership of their coaching and their own growth. So then you can support them through having those conversations or through the allowance. And last, before we go back to job description, is AMA. So I just put ask me anything. What a great technique that I read about is, again, if you're limited with your amount of time and you don't have time to kind of keep going to Slack and answering a million different questions from your sales rep, have office hours. So just open office hours once a week where maybe you're working on particular projects, or you're going through your emails and you have some time that you can just kind of leave a Zoom open. And if your sales rep have something to ask you, this gives them an opportunity to kind of, if they know on Thursday at 2 p.m. you have your open office hours, they can kind of summarize maybe 5 or 6 things that they've been thinking about or questions that they have, as opposed to pinging you on Tuesday morning, then Wednesday afternoon, then Thursday morning. Say, I have my open office hours for an hour on Thursdays. If you have anything to talk about, jump in there and we'll be able to address it. So it's a great technique to just kind of plug into your calendar, make yourself available once a week for your sales reps. So we have a full sales manager's matrix here. And the final thing that we were looking at was this job description. And the cool thing about the job description is that we kind of just built it ourselves. So when you go to hire and build out your job description, you already have your culture highlights, you have your story, you have your extras, you have your on target earnings, what a day in the life looks like, you have your flow, and you have a bunch of other details around here to support that job description. So it makes it super easy to build that out. So that's it. That's how you build out your sales manager matrix to make you a better sales leader, even if you don't have sales experience. And I know that you don't have a whole lot of time. So hopefully this is a way of kind of breaking it down into an easy way, just kind of little chunks to get you started to hire the best salesperson that you can, onboard them so they're ramping up in less time than what the average sales reps are ramping up in. And then finally that you're coaching them to be really awesome salespeople and creating a culture that supports coaching and that supports professional development.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a great kind of simple structure. We've got a bunch of people saying in the chat here, the structure's so cool. This is gold. Um, Somebody's going harking back to the pizza and saying the pineapple belongs on it. So this is great. We're really coming full circle here.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
really, really cool structure. Honestly, I'm really excited to just go off and do it for myself. I know that I'm not in that kind of founder seat, but I am hiring sales reps, and it's always something that we're kind of testing and iterating and improving upon. So absolutely, I'm going to try this whole structure. And yeah, so interesting. Any of you guys have any questions about that structure, about any of the things we've touched on here to do with hiring, onboarding, coaching, all of that stuff, getting, pulling back that ramp time and getting it closer to that 3 month mark? We'd be happy to answer any of those questions. While the questions trickle in, I think that we should remind everybody about our competition, our
Drum
contest.
roll, please. I know you always say competition, but it's not a competition.
No,
It's
it's
only a
not. It's
competition of
not.
like
It's
drawing from a hat. We're not competing,
exactly.
everybody. So
There's
just
nothing you
relax.
can do. Chill
You can't
out.
compete. Yeah. So as a thank you for joining us, we wanted to give everybody who's registered. So whether you're attending or not attending, but those of you that did register, we appreciate it and we love you a lot. And we've loved spending the last 4 weeks with you. So what we
Mhm.
wanted to do is give back, and both Sarah and I have a gift for one lucky registrant. And what I'm going to do is build your sales playbook for you. And we're going to work through all these 4 steps of building your sales playbook. We're going to map out your sales playbook or your sales process. We're going to dial in your ideal customer profile, and we're going to build out this sales SDR, BDR hiring playbook so that you are just ready to go to build that repeatable, scalable sales culture from scratch.
So cool. So cool. That's so exciting. And you guys have had such a taste of what is to come by working your way through this workshop series. So what better way to do it than with guidance from the expert himself? And PR is also going to contribute a couple of things. We are going to contribute to this wonderful prize, a email sequence consultation. So that is going to be with our coaching and consulting team. They're going to help you build the ideal email sequence to get the highest engagement with your ideal customer profile. And we'll also throw in Aaron Ross's 2 books. So Predictable Revenue, From Impossible to Inevitable. There it is. So very exciting. This whole prize altogether is worth $10,000, guys. So it's honestly a wonderful, it's a wonderful prize. And make sure that you have registered officially so that you get your name in there. If you're one of these people who, saw it on LinkedIn, didn't register, hopped on the live stream, you better make sure you go register so that you're
Because
eligible
it's
for
very generous.
this.
I've never seen that. I've seen a lot of webinars, a lot of workshops
Mhm.
recently that are paid or they even are free, but they don't reward you for showing up. I mean, we're giving a lot of content,
True.
plus we're giving away 10K worth of awesome prizes. And imagine like that 10K is going to go like that's exponential. That's an investment
Yeah,
in your company, and you're going to have this
absolutely.
email sequence and a sales playbook built out and a whole process for building out your team. So it's super exciting. I'm so happy that we can contribute that to one company out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And the draw for that is going to be happening tomorrow. So you still have a little chance if you haven't yet registered to get those registrations in. But yeah, the prize is going to be drawn, or the person who's going to win the prize is going to be drawn tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll of course reach out to you. We won't expect you to find it, but everybody stay tuned. We don't have any other particular questions that have come in yet. So Drew, if people do want to learn more from you, if they want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me at salesplaybookbuilder.com. There's a bunch of, I got some really awesome resources. So if you are building out your sales team and want to look at some like one-on-one meeting agenda structure, you want to think about building out a comp plan in a more detailed fashion, there's some calculators on there and templates and worksheets that are there. So there's some awesome resources at salesplaybookbuilder.com.
Awesome. And for those of you guys that are interested in attending another wonderful live stream where you can learn a ton of stuff about sales. We have something very exciting coming up. Predictable Revenues Own Your Growth Virtual Summit is coming June 3rd and 4th. We've got a bunch of incredible speakers that are going to be on this live stream. It's going to be interactive, so you can ask them questions. So we have, who are these exciting people? We've got Mark Roberge, John Miller, Nick Capozzi, Aaron Ross, of course. So we're going to have these 2 days packed with these wonderful live streams. We've got a tailored intro set from comedic genius Corporate Bro. That's going to be on day one, June 3rd. Very, very funny guy. Really exciting. So click the link in the chat. We'll put the link in the chat right now for you guys to register for that event, so that you can join us on June 3rd and 4th to, learn some more stuff from some other sales experts out there doing it all day, every day, just like Drew.
I'll be there.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Founder at 50, not sure the name, says, is the prize worth 10,000 Canadian or USD? 10,000 rupees. Just kidding. Definitely US dollars. And someone says, let me get what I want. Lord knows this would be the first time. Founder at 50, praying for you. Fingers crossed. You have as good a shot as anybody at getting this prize. Yeah. So thank you so much, you guys. I think we can wrap it up there, Drew. I mean, don't have any other questions. People know where they can find you if they want to ask more. They know the prize is being drawn tomorrow. They know where to get more predictable revenue content. Maybe we got to leave it at that.
I think that sounds great. Appreciate everybody joining today, and appreciate everybody who's been following along. It's been awesome, and I'm sure we'll see you again very shortly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you so much to you, Drew, for joining us on the Predictable Revenue live stream. Wonderful, wonderful 4 part series here. We've learned so much. So thank you.